I was just telling Seth. Seth was like tripping about how blurry his camera is, and I told him like, bro, the more blurry you are, the harder it is for them to come Gary Webb you. You're good. Um, so everybody knows Seth. He has two copies of his own book on the bookshelves behind him. I have a copy here with the dust cover removed because I'm a fucking weirdo like this. But definitely the best book of the year. We were also talking about cowboys and like one of the main one of the themes that Seth starts off with in the book is how like these operators, everybody's seen Black Hawk Down, Zero Dark 30, like these rugged dudes that are going out doing battle with the evil that we created. But like going out doing all this hard shit and like it's directly tied into classical American settler colonialism. Like one of the things that you'll learn about the special forces, if you didn't know it already, is that overwhelmingly white. Like if you know anything about the military is extremely, extremely diverse. Like you literally have people from every corner of the world that serve in the United States military. But the special forces, on the other hand, are basically like they're like what a fraternity was at Harvard in 1902, like nearly all white, all heavily bearded, like yeah. So there's a culture that centers around unmitigated violence, um, unmitigated notion that oh, I can do whatever the fuck I want, including traffic drugs, including murder my comrades, including murder people overseas in countries that we have no business in. But it's a really good read. If you haven't, you need to read it. The thing with the American left is that overall we get most of our information from memes and not enough from books. So if you read no book, if you read no other book before the end of the year, read the Fort Bragg Cartel. It will piss you off. There's only like three books that have pissed me off in my life. It's the Fort Bragg Cartel, it's War Against All Puerto Ricans by Nelson Dennis, and it's The Burning about the Tulsa Race Massacre. So what's up, Seth? How you doing?
Good, Chris. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Do you identify as a socialist? Can I call you comrade?
You can call me comrade. I can identify as your comrade. I kind of wonder about the utility of those type of labels post 1991. I'm anti-capitalist. I think capitalism is a system that has entered into a highly destructive phase, and that is riddled by contradictions that cannot be resolved. Whether
Oh,
socialism is the
oh,
appropriate alternative, I have never been called upon specifically to take sides in that regard because that's I'm not a political writer. I write about the military and foreign policy. I voted for
it's
Bernie Sanders
politics.
every chance I got. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'm actually to the left of you. Then I never was a Bernie guy. He was too soft for me. But like I'm really glad you brought up like the fall of the Soviet Union because a lot of people like it's the American myth that okay, Soviet Union gone, communism all done. But like as a Maoist, I believe that like Maoists believe that the Soviet Union that fell apart in 1991 wasn't actually socialist because like if you look at it, like it had like a lot of the guys that are running Russia now, a lot of those guys are former KGB, former Soviet military. Like a lot of those oligarchs, they were pretty high up in the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. So what they basically did was they're like, this is mine. You can have this. I got the oil. You got the telecom. So it was basically like a free for all. It was slicing up the pie. But like we consider what fell apart in 1991 to basically be a travesty, like state capitalism calling itself socialism.
Mhm.
But yeah, at least you're not a full fledged reactionary, but you're using the terms contradictions. So maybe I could talk you into Maoism. But um, yeah, and you like you said, you're a military writer, and you write on foreign policy. Basically, you write on all the fucked up, insidious shit that America has done. That's politics. Like when you see those guys in Iran are chanting "Death to America," like they're not talking about death to you and me, death to Americans. They're like all the horrible shit that this country has done politically, trying to strangle their country. Same thing with Cuba. Like the Cubans don't hate Americans because of who we are. Che literally said that he envies us because we're in the belly of the beast. But it's like the stuff that you write about and the blowback that comes home. For example, the situation that took place in Washington, D.C. A few weeks ago. Like people are like, oh my god, this guy is so evil, but like they didn't investigate, like they didn't study. Like you, when you study, you realize that hey, the United States, we went over there and we were like basically. I think I saw one guy that was basically portraying our involvement in that whole conflict that we started by arming these people to spit in the Soviets' eyes. But like it was basically like these various tribes, these various ethnicities, they were basically using us as mercenaries
Mhm.
to fuck over their tribal rivals.
Yes.
So and like working with the special forces, the people that you wrote about in this book. Like these people torture people. These people do experimentation. These people get you in all types of drugs. Like it's not a very wholesome environment for a young man to be in.
No, definitely not. Um, and especially in Afghanistan during the war there, looking at some of the many abuses that the Afghan client state that was supported by the CIA and the Green Berets for so many years, um, it was a really repellent institution that did a lot more than just kill people with impunity. You know, it was basically a criminal organization, one of the most corrupt um, governing bodies that's ever existed. And there's parallels to that in a lot of U.S. wars. You know, going back to the South Vietnamese. Every time, basically, that the U.S. has tried to intervene in a country allegedly to help the citizens of that country, they will usually stand up a client state, which it promotes as like, well, these are the good South Vietnamese, or these are the good Vietnamese, or these are the good Afghans, or these are the good Iraqis. But in reality, those governments typically tend to be just in it for their own personal enrichment.
Yeah,
And in fact, it's the corruption of those governments that usually leads to the failure of the whole project because it becomes so deeply unpopular with the people. You know, it's like the people start saying, "Well, these guys are worse than Saddam, or these guys are worse than the Taliban."
yeah. Like I grew up like you're you're substantially older than me. I'm 31. So when you were over there dancing in the desert, I was a little nerd watching y'all on TV. But like I remember, like I will never forget, like watching bombs drop over Baghdad, seeing the Battle of Fallujah, Ramadi, all these cities. I was a weird kid, bro. But and like just hearing like names like Hamid Karzai, um, all these different like we had no idea. Like we were taught, okay, this is where Afghanistan finally becomes a functioning state. Mind you, Afghanistan was was a functioning state. Like this is one of the oldest cultures, oldest civilizations in the world. Like you've got the Indus Valley civilization, literally a hop, skip, and a jump away. And like one thing that I find atrocious about America is that we're not even 300 years old as a country. Like you go to Europe, you go to India, you go to Africa, you go to Pakistan, like you get to see building shit. Never mind China, but like you see buildings that are there are dynasties in China that have lasted twice as long as this country. You go to England, the United Kingdom, you see buildings 500, 600 years old. You go to China, you go to India, you see 1,000-year-old buildings. So, like, it's just so presumptuous at this country because it hoards an immense amount of the world's wealth, deigns to try to invade, destroy, and then not even reconstruct other people's countries, but just install literal drug lords like the Karzai clique in Afghanistan, and then act weird when the mess that we've made follows us home. And like in DC, like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, but like those guys had no fuck. Those people had no business there. Like these people literally died for Trump's bullshit agenda. Like for what purpose do you have like all the National Guard has been doing in DC is running around picking up trash, and people are throwing shit at them. I go on Reddit. I remember when the Marines were in LA, and like there were dudes on there. They were like, "Bro, I did not sign up for this shit. Why am I just walking around looking for like? Why am I defending these green jacketed assholes as they go around harassing random Mexican or Salvadoran dudes that are just trying to make an honest dollar. And like one thing that I keep constantly getting into with other leftists is like this whole like, oh my god, fuck death to all baby killers. Like a lot of these people are just like regular ass dudes, especially like indigenous people, like a lot of the guys that come off reservations. Like they join the military because if you know anything about indigenous reservations, there's literally no fucking jobs. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's no jobs. So like these guys, they go, and if you get hurt, wounded for some bullshit reason, you get a decent check for the rest of your life. So like I would not. Now it's different if you're like if you go and you like Academy Blackwater, whatever they call themselves now, mercenary or something that just enjoys killing. But like if you're just like an average fucking dude or a girl that just sits stateside, or you end up in I don't know fucking Germany doing paperwork, like well, why would you? I don't know. We in the left have a term that's called undialectical. People fail to see all sides of a situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most people or everyone is a product of their environment, and um, in the United States, most people believe what they're told and the information that they get from their school and from the media. And so, absent some kind of enlightening incident or circumstance or exposure to ideas outside of that world, they're going to reflect that. And there's little to deter people from regarding the military well, maybe less and less these days, but certainly at the time that I joined the army when I was 19 years old, um, so it's completely pointless to, and I never have really attacked low-ranking enlisted people. That's absent some extenuating circumstances, like they've done something, committed war crimes or something.
Yeah,
That I have never condemned, or I never looked at those people as worthy as condemnation. Now, the world that was investigating for the purposes of this book is very different, because you're talking about people that have served for years and years and have actually been to these war zones. I mean, I went to
yeah,
Iraq at age 19, and I quickly came to the conclusion, just based on firsthand experience, like, hey, this is not good. What's going on over here? So if you're talking about people that have re-enlisted to serve multiple deployments, or that have gone into the special forces intentionally and served years, rotating back to the same wars again and again, that's a little bit different. They kind of know that the people that are being targeted are not necessarily the evil villains that they're portrayed to be. They're aware of the enormous number of civilian casualties, and they're aware of the corruption of the people that we partner with, whether it's in Afghanistan or Syria or Iraq or what have you. And
yeah.
so,
And you like one thing that I really like how you discuss in the book is like discuss like how a lot of this shit like that they reported on Fox or any of the other bullshit media that was around back in like oh 04, oh 05, oh 06. Oh my god, 12 terrorists were taken out. And then you look, you killed one dude's whole fucking family. Like you literally just went in and you said that they just would go in and any dude that looked like he was old enough to have a weapon, they just fucking shot him. They asked no question, just killed.
yeah, and I've
And
seen
like,
um, former Delta Force operators going on podcasts and talking very frankly about um, the massacres that they commit on targets. Basically saying that when we show up, everyone there is going to die. I mean, I guess it's possible if someone came out with a white flag, really conspicuously surrendering, they would have a shot at surviving. Same goes for any women and children on target. Like I wouldn't necessarily say that they're going to deliberately kill them all, but um, anyone who's a male, who's military age, by which I mean like very broadly, very broad category, 15 to like 55. Um, Chances are they're going to get killed, and I've heard that from the horse's mouth, so to speak, from former Delta Force operators, including in a memoir that I obtained that was written by Billy Levine, who's one of the main characters in the book.
yeah, that was it's like this book made me sad. Like so many lives, especially that kid from California that like ended up with his I think his head cut off
Right.
on the
Yeah,
beach.
Martinez, yeah.
Yeah, like this reading about it, it was like I'm like this dude sounds like me. Like he was just a kid that grew up playing video games, like kind of hippy dippy ish. Went into to I was never in the military, but went in like trying to like because his family was fucking poor. Like his I think his dad wasn't around. His mom came up from Mexico, worked her ass off trying to make a life for her kids. So he wanted like you know what I'm gonna go in and help my fucking mom out. And like when you get out of the service, like you get loans, you don't got to worry about college. You can buy your people a house. Like that's what he was thinking of. And for him to end up like, and they still haven't found out who like the dude didn't cut his own head off. So and they still haven't like this is a cold case now, and that just made me sad. Like I was like, damn, I could have been on a fucking Xbox Live lobby with this guy.
Yeah, it is a very sad story of Enrique Roman Martinez that he did join the military for all the reasons that you say. He was supporting not only himself but his family, um, and he did it specifically. He joined the military specifically because he had the dream of going to pharmacy school. He wanted to be a pharmacist, and he saw military service as the most viable avenue to achieve that. Um, and he absolutely hated being in the army because for a lot of people who join it, it's not the greatest environment. It
A lot
can,
of bullying.
yeah, and also, it just it's obviously kind of goes without saying that it's a pretty macho environment that prizes certain traits over others. Enrique wasn't. He wasn't a very big guy, wasn't very strong, and had injured his legs from in airborne school and
Mm.
wasn't able to run. So he just really hated being in the military. But you're stuck there for 4 years for an enlistment, and that's when he kind of got into the Fort Bragg underground drug world, which is report throughout the book is a very substantial black market that exists there, and he was making money dealing drugs.
Yeah. You got
He
people that come in. You got people that come in from off the base just to buy drugs on the base.
or you have people selling, coming to the base to sell them bulk, to sell dealers there very substantial quantities of bulk narcotics, because it's a huge market for coke and other drugs.
Yeah.
Um,
You figure like and like I used to work at well I worked at two homeless shelters. And drug dealers like they loved, especially like if people had like disability checks coming in, because they know like okay, you get a check from the government, so I know you getting that shit every month. And like they would like it was like whenever check day was there, like they would all be lined up, and you'd see them running down there making their deals. Like it got so bad that some people were even letting them hold like the little green cards, like they were letting the drug dealer has their card. It's
yeah,
basically like, okay, yeah. And like same thing with the service. Like, okay, these soldiers, I know they're gonna get paid on time. So, well, maybe not so much on time no more with Trump in office, but like, okay, we know they get money on time. So yeah, they're the best to deal to. They got steady money coming in.
and there's a lot of industries, vice industries or other predatory industries um, that go by that same playbook. In fact, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, some years ago they had to ban payday lenders from
Oh
operating in
yeah.
certain proximities to military bases because you're talking about guys who are not financially sophisticated, but have that regular government paycheck. And so there's
Yeah.
payday lenders and there's strict
It's a
law.
meme. It's a meme now. Like it's a meme. Like, oh, you're gonna get a fucking Hellcat at an exorbitant rate of interest. Like go on TikTok. Like that's the constant fucking meme with troops. And yeah, payday loans, shady car dealers, strip clubs, all that shit. Like this basically this parasitism.
Yeah, actually, now I'm remembering when I was in Iraq, there was it's amazing, but you could actually buy like a Harley Davidson there. You didn't even like before you even came home, you could sign the paperwork and buy your motorcycle while still overseas. Finance it, of course. I'm not sure if they still allow that, but that's the kind of stuff that
So
that goes on.
what if you got killed before you could get the before you got home? I guess somebody they would just sell the motorcycle to somebody else.
I'm sure they have provisions in place to deal with that contingency, and it probably happened more than once. I don't know.
Yeah, sad. But like yeah, like you said, like these guys are like a lot of these guys are fresh out of the trailer park, the Reds or the hood. And like these schools, they don't offer they don't offer finance training. Okay, this is how much you should spend on your car note. This is how much you should spend on your rent. This is how much you should try to save. Like, no, you figure, okay, you're 19 years old. This is the first time you're touching regular money, and of course you're going to blow it. And it's just a sign. And I guess this is something that has troubled armies since the beginning of armies. Like, there's always been like camp followers, merchants, peddlers, usurers. So I guess it's just like just history repeating itself. But it's just fucking sick, man.
Yeah, right. There's I think they do probably try to train troops in like basic financial literacy these days, because they don't want you having to. They don't want you dealing. They don't want you dealing with financial problems when you're in the service. That can actually be disruptive to military readiness.
Yeah.
But there's only so much you can do with guys who are in their early 20s. I mean, I remember I came back from Iraq with $40,000 because you get paid
Shit.
the entire time you're deployed. You get paid, and there's nothing to spend it on, like literally zero. Like you can't. So I hadn't spent any of my paycheck for 18 months. Basically, I've been over there, really longer than that because I've been in training before that. And I'm pretty sure I blew almost all of it buying a brand new Toyota Tacoma. Um, that
Not a
had
Hellcat. They didn't even have
Not a
hell. They didn't even
Hellcat. I
have
don't
those
know
back
what
then.
that is exactly, but the stereotype is a Ford Mustang or a Tacoma or a Jeep. A lot of times it's a new Jeep, and yeah, troops drive those around. So and then there's other industries that kind of profit from the military ecosystem as well. That like there's a lot of tattoo parlors, a lot of strip clubs. In Fayetteville, there's a lot of strip clubs, and there's human trafficking.
Vietnam. I
Yeah,
have a comrade in my DSA chapter. He actually grew up around there, and like one thing that he distinctly remembered was that like it was everybody called it Vietnam, and like people figure like if you're an unschooled person, like you'll figure okay, military base, a lot of troops around, we'll be safe, right? But like as your book explains in more polite language, shit.
yeah.
Like you might, it's like apparently this military base is one of the most dangerous areas in the United States.
In certain parts of it, yeah, it's not a safe. It's not a safe town. There's a lot of. It's hard to draw apples to apples comparisons. I mean, the U.S. as a country doesn't feel too safe where you go these days. Um, Violent crime rates are actually lower than they used to be, but there's a
Mhm.
but there's a perception of danger from violent crime because of such high profile cases. And
Yeah.
around Fayetteville, it's often bizarre and unsolved murders. There's just a lot of unsolved murders that take place in Fayetteville, crimes that take place and just never get solved, like the case of Enrique Rowan Martinez. Because that world of that, he dealt. I don't want to speak too ill of the dead by portraying him as a drug dealer. I mean, there's drug dealers and there's drug dealers. Enrique dealt weed, and actually, no, he didn't even deal weed. He
He
dealt
was a he was a dabbler. Like
psychedelics.
this, yeah. Like this guy wasn't. He wasn't like fucking El Chapo level drug kingpin. Like he was just like he got into that scene. He started using the stuff, and then he was like, you know what? I want to share this with everybody else. I'm gonna sell it to my friends and etc. And then it blew up from there. But like he wasn't like a murderous, horrible like uh Pablo Escobar, El Chapo drug kingpin that was putting people's heads on stakes.
Well, he certainly wasn't a violent guy himself.
Yeah.
He was selling psychedelics because he believed that they were beneficial. He sincerely believed that they were beneficial to people. In fact, that's why he wanted to go to pharmacy school, um, because he thought that psychedelics had the power to cure depression, and anxiety and PTSD and other things, which he himself suffered from depression. Um,
Yeah.
and there's some evidence that shows
Yeah.
that those drugs can assist with those things. I don't know. I don't want to take
But
sides.
like, yeah. But
Not
like the thing is like I find one thing that I find weird about this country is like I'm not a hippie woo type dude that's like, oh yeah, drink this kombucha and all your problems will be solved. But like it's kind of weird how like all of these like there's a variety of treatments that have been proven effective. Like they fought legalizing cannabis for the longest fucking time, and like I remember Dare in school. Like they literally called it the gateway drug. If you use marijuana, you will be on heroin next week. Ooh. But like it's the fucking drug companies. Like it's all right for you to have 6 and 7 year olds hopped up on amphetamines, but like shit that can actually work, shit that indigenous people have been using for millennia. Oh, that's a no go. You're going to prison forever for that. So yeah, fuck that.
Well, I think that if drug companies had the opportunity to sell you legal weed, legal heroin, they would. Legal cocaine, they would. I think that drug prohibition, and I'm not an expert on this, but I think that it probably has more to do with race politics than anything else. The prohibition on marijuana was originally, I think, directed at Mexican immigrants, um, and but certainly there's an element of hypocrisy that you can't patent those things and profit from them because they would be generic right out the gate.
Yeah.
Um,
It's perfectly fine for the CIA and other types of people to try to use LSD as a truth serum, though.
yeah, LSD's origins definitely it's like Lyme disease. It wouldn't exist were it not for certain skullduggery on part of intelligence agencies
Yeah.
and the military. It was popularized through covert means originally, even before the 60s and the 50s. There's a whole hidden history of LSD.
Yeah.
Long
That's
before.
why. I've never dabbled with that stuff. I've met people that have had bad trips. I'm like, yeah, this, you are not turning me into a basket case.
Well, what's really freaky about Enrique's case, his beheading, was that he was having a bad trip at the time that he was murdered. And it's unclear what happened to him or who might have had a motive to kill him because, as I was saying before, um, he was involved in this underground world of drug dealing, which isn't a safe activity to be involved in. I mean, when you're dealing drugs with Fort Bragg soldiers involved, you can get in.
Especially if you're a little skinny dude.
Yeah, so the potential was there, but what might have actually happened? I read the CID's entire investigative file, and it's just not clear at all. That they never found anyone who had a motive to kill him, but they went to the camping trip on the beach, and several of the soldiers dropped acid, including Enrique, and started having a really bad trip. And that's kind of the last that we know about him. He was completely freaking out because there was a thunderstorm that came in on the beach. He had
Yeah, he
dropped.
just got up. He just got up. He just got up and ran away.
Well, even that's not clear. So the other soldiers that were with him, 7 other soldiers, who were initially the focus of a lot of intense suspicion, but as you know from reading the book, I kind of come out on the side of you know, I'm not in a position to exonerate them. I don't use the word exonerate, but there's no evidence that any of those 7 soldiers that were with him on the camping trip were involved. None of them had a motive to kill him, I think is the most important thing. I mean, they
Yeah,
went through these soldiers' lives with a fine tooth comb for years and years. Plus, none of them were really, they're kids basically. They're 20
they're
years
the
old.
yeah, they're the types of people that hang out on beaches and take acid.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And they Enrique was freaking out because he was scared of thunderstorms, and he was
Oh,
tripping on LSD. So he was really he was really going through it. And so his friends just, he wouldn't come out of the Jeep. He took shelter in the Jeep. Like we're talking about brand new cars. One of his buddies had a brand new Jeep Wrangler, and he was just taking shelter in the back of it essentially, and wouldn't come out. They all went to bed, and when they woke up, he was gone. And he left. His glasses were left behind in the Jeep, and as well as his wallet, which indicates that he must have been coerced into leaving because he couldn't see. He was totally blind without his glasses.
me too.
Yeah. Well, he was. I don't know how many. I don't know if you're actually legally blind without him, but Enrique was. He couldn't see anything without his glasses. I mean, he couldn't function without them.
If I take these off, I see a red sweater, and that's it.
And my sweater is brown, brother.
Now, see that? Yeah.
My camera's blurry for some reason today. I don't know why, but
I'm trying to save you from being Gary Webbed.
yeah, okay. Um, well, so somebody must have dragged him out. Or, I mean, it seems that it would seem likely that someone took him out of that Jeep. But it's they and so people thought he must have thought he could have committed suicide because he did have some suicidal ideation, like I was saying, he's depressed. But then 3 days later, his severed head washed up on the beach. I mean, this story goes beyond like kind of the gangster shit that I talk about throughout the
Yeah,
book. It's
this
almost
is
like more like X-Files type of thing.
yeah, like bruh, like I'm yeah. I don't know what type of cryptids are down there, but like that's like a whole that's like one of those I don't know if you've ever read Reddit creepypastas, but that's like one of
Oh,
those.
it is truly a ghost story for the ages. Certainly not to make light of it. I feel very bad for Enrique's sister and
Yeah.
his mom, who I've talked to extensively. His sister, um, but the army has repeatedly, or investigators frustrated by their inability to solve this case, have repeatedly tried to suggest that Enrique jumped in the water because he was either having a panic attack or wanted to commit suicide, and a boat ran him over, and a motor of a boat, a propeller of a boat's motor chopped off his head.
Yeah, and the boat was yeah, like if okay, like it doesn't unless you've got like a whole ass fucking Titanic size ship, like a regular size civilian boat. If you run over somebody's body and cut their head off, like you ain't like it's gonna you're gonna know that.
Yeah, it's going to pulverize your entire neck and cranial area. And four different doctors did autopsies and told the army that it had to have been a person using a hand tool, whether that's an axe, machete, big knife, something like that, is the only thing that could have severed his head because there was no damage to the surrounding vertebra or to his skull. So
And where's the rest of his body at?
the rest of his body was never found. But
Ugh.
they were able to examine them just from the vertebra and skull alone. They were able to conclude that that the cause of death was to a scientific certainty was homicide, and no one has any idea who did this or why. So it's an exceptionally creepy case that took place
Yeah.
in 2020 at Fort Bragg, right at the height of all these other murders that I discuss in the book.
And
Um,
this is like like that kid didn't deserve that.
Certainly not. No, he didn't seem to have any enemies. But one thing that all the murders that took place in 2020 and 2021 have in common, or nearly all of them have in common, is that the victims were in one way or another involved in the drug trade on Fort Bragg,
Yeah.
which really burgeoned during that time, including in 2021 and in subsequent years. And one thing I just try to call attention to in the book is the degree to which drug use is normalized and just a thing at this army base, which of course is the most important army. It's the largest army base in the United States. Excuse me, the largest military base, period, in the U.S. And is the home of the most important critical formations, including the Special Forces and Delta Force and JSOC and all these other elite Black Ops special operations type of units. And I was making this case in articles I was writing for Rolling Stone for years without really having access to definitive proof until a U.S. senator from Massachusetts, Senator Edward Markey, he's a Democrat. One of his staffers, I assume, put him onto some of the work I had done, and he requested from the Pentagon that they turn over data on overdoses, because one thing I was showing was that there were soldiers that were overdosing very frequently at Fort Bragg, like far more frequently than at any other military base. And thanks to Senator Markey, the Pentagon actually was compelled to produce that data, which showed that Fort Bragg has by far the most overdoses on a per capita and absolute basis compared to every other military base. So it showed, and also that Fort Bragg soldiers are more likely to overdose and die than civilians, which is extraordinary because, as I'm sure you know, like the overdose rate in the U.S. is off the charts. It's one of the most troubling and sad things about our
Yeah.
society.
Our imbecile of a president is trying to resolve the situation by declaring fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. So I imagine that there are going to be immediate sanctions imposed on the major producers of pharmaceuticals that are liable to abuse that are headquartered here in the United States. And I imagine that several billionaires are going to start being indicted. I'm joking.
Well,
It's not going to happen.
I don't know too much about the pharmacology of fentanyl. My understanding is that well, I don't even know how that works because fentanyl is a legal drug. It's available that doctors use it all the time.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
prescribe.
It's an extreme, like it's basically an extreme pain medication. Like if you've got like cancer that's eating your asshole out or something, they'll give you that. It's fun. Like the Rodrigo Duterte, the president of the Philippines, that's currently chilling in The Hague right now. Like it was a big thing because during his campaign, he was basically labeled as a fentanyl addict. And I follow the Philippines because there's a really big Maoist movement over there. But like it was hilarious. And like he would just be like, yeah, I abuse fentanyl. My doctor said I'm going to take too much, and I said, God damn it, leave me alone. I'm a big guy. Yeah, that's it. But he's in The Hague because he was going around killing people just because they use drugs. So yeah, but
Yeah, very hypocritical. The hypocrisy, the whole drug war is shot through with these hypocrisies. I
yeah,
believe fentanyl is used by in combat by army medics. Fentanyl lollipops. Kind of a weird thing that exists, but that's
that is the most American thing I've ever heard.
yeah. You never heard of a fentanyl lollipop?
I've heard of it. I'm just like every time I hear that phrase, like, yeah, you know what? This is an extremely addictive drug, but we're going to give it to you in candy form. So
Yeah, kind of
we'll
weird.
rot your teeth, and we'll turn you to an addict. Yay!
But there's no my there's my point is that there's nothing wrong with fentanyl when used as prescribed, which it's for extraordinary situations when people are in extreme pain. The fact that it's so concentrated should mean nothing to a doctor. I mean, different medications are they have different. You need different quantities of it. Doctors should be able to mix them so precisely that it doesn't matter if you need 1 grain or like a whole gram of it. The medicine has its effect at the prescribed dose, and that's why you
Yeah.
have to have a doctor's supervision to control it. If used correctly, it's beneficial to people who are suffering extreme pain because they've had massive trauma and need to be anesthetized.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, but like I was being facetious about Trump. Trump is just doing it to fuck with Mexico and China. Like that's literally the only reason.
well, to the extent that's his goal, I agree. That's what's the subterfuge, or that's the ulterior motive there. I just question, like, do they really want to use that language? For most people, the whole WMD thing instantly recalls the fake justification for going to war with
Yeah, but
Iraq.
a lot of people believe that. Like they reelected Bush in '04 after after he like blatantly lied to the American. He had Colin Powell up there holding up that vial of shit. I'll never forget it.
Yeah,
And like people bought that shit hook, line, and sinker. Like I was a kid, but you were an adult. Like you remember that whole jingoistic. Like well, we're changing the name because the French won't go to Iraq with us, so we're changing the name of French fries to Freedom Fries. Cheese eating surrender monkeys. Like yeah, there were whole ass fucking seasons of South Park about this bullshit, and
you
like
know, the French dined out on that reputation for years excessively because they came to be seen as like the reasonable, irrational country. The truth is that France is a very nefarious actor
oh yeah,
in foreign policy and military affairs.
France is like so fucking imperialistic and petty that when they were pulling out of French West Africa, Senegal, Guinea, all those areas, like they literally broke the sewer lines and they smashed every single light bulb in all their ministries. They're like, okay, you don't want us? We are going to throw you back to the dark ages. Like
Uh,
they are an extremely petty fucking people. And then never mind the bullshit that they were doing in Indochina. Never mind the bullshit they were literally testing nuclear weapons in Algeria right before they gave it right before the Algerians took their independence. And now, like the reason why this whole AES thing is going on, the reason why there's so many military coups over there is because like there's a popular wind. Like the French need to fucking go. Like there's no reason why you should be taking all of our gold. There's no reason why you should be taking all of our fucking
uranium.
uranium. Like this is yeah, like this is our shit. Like
Yeah.
there's no reason why all of our fucking gold reserves are sitting in Paris.
What do you think about this guy Ibrahim Traore? Do you think he's
Traore,
ill, or do you think he's just a populist?
I think that well, I certainly like okay, so I don't know how much you know about Thomas
Populist,
Sankara.
populist in the pejorative sense. It could be positive or negative, but
Yeah. I don't know how much you know about Thomas Sankara, but
I know who he is. Yeah, yeah.
he basically sees himself, I think, in that model. But I
Hmm.
think because Sankara, like openly identified as a Marxist, as a socialist. Whereas Traore, um, there's a theoretician, Jesus, I can't remember. I think it's, but like there's a distinction between like the colonel's coups, like Gaddafi did, and the lieutenant's coups, like Traore and all these other guys. So like Sankara, he came to power in a coup. Because in many of these countries, the military is probably the most stable institution. So like whenever shit goes, like there was an attempted coup in Benin last week. So like when shit goes south, the president starts fucking acting up, or the imperialists start running amok. Usually, the general thing is okay. The military needs to take over for a little bit. Of course, it usually does not end up just being a little bit. Um, but in terms of Traore, the primary contradiction would be like the French are still stealing massive amounts of resources and capital from West Africa, the countries that they used to colonize: Mali, Guinea-Bissau. Well, no, Guinea-Bissau was Portuguese. Burkina Faso, and all of these various other countries over there. So I think it's progressive for the people in these countries that the imperialists are being run out. But also on the other hand, you also have Russia. That is, they have Wagner Group running around down there. Those are not necessarily people that have the best interests of African people at heart. Especially if you know anything about Russia, they are extremely racist. So they're there
And
trying to,
brutal.
and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and like a lot of like I've been seeing a lot of videos of African mercenaries working for Wagner Group turning up in Ukraine, and the Ukrainians are not necessarily paragons of racial tolerance either. So like um yeah, so it's basically like between a rock and a hard place. Like Traore wants to cleave to Putin and the Russians, I think, um, because they're cutting them a better deal. Of course, they're still a junior imperialist power. Like they do not have the interests of Africans at heart at all. Neither do the Chinese.
And what
But
do
I
they
think,
need the outside military powers for? Is it because of jihadists in the Sahel and the
oh
Sahara?
yeah, yeah, they've been fucking running amok in northern Nigeria. That's why Trump had Nicki Minaj for whatever reason at the UN be like, "Oh, Christians are under attack." I'm like, you don't give a fuck about Christians. Like the Latino people that you're dragging off the streets are extremely Catholic. You don't give a fuck. But like, yeah, like Africa is going to be it's going to be a major player in the next century because it's the youngest continent. It has a shitload. Like there are parts of the Congo basin that have never been mapped. So like there's resources: coltan, titanium, gold, um, all types of resources. Huge workforce, huge markets. So of course the Russians and Chinese, the Europeans and the Americans and the Canadians are going to be fighting over it. So as a Pan Africanist, I'm basically with Kwame and Nkrumah. Like Africa needs to unite, put aside all these squabblings over lines that were drawn by white people, by Europeans at the beginning at the Berlin Conference, basically carved Africa up like a cake and like get together. Because like if Africa was united into like one country, it would probably be the most powerful country on earth. And that's what these various imperialist groupings don't want. So, but on the other hand, Traore is also extremely conservative.
Hmm.
So, yeah, as a communist, I do not like social conservatism, but also keeping into account like West Africa in general is pretty socially conservative.
Yeah, yeah. I have some Nigerian friends who definitely could be described that way. Um,
Yeah.
and well, that's interesting. Yeah, that certainly would be a prescription for success, I think, to unite the whole country in that way. You might face substantial opposition by the
Mhm.
whole continent that way, I mean to say. Um, that could
By
be a
the
game. I mean,
Yeah,
you remind us what happened to Sankara.
yeah, or Gaddafi. Well, I'm not really a big Gaddafi fan. Gaddafi was a weirdo, and like his
He whacked.
politics, yeah, and his politics were like extremely weird. He thought that black people would take over the world because, and I quote from his little green book, um, he believed that because we are not obsessed with work and because we breed like rabbits, he thought that we would take over the world through fucking. So yeah, yeah. He also had a crush on Condi Rice, but
Oh God, well that's unforgivable. Yeah,
hey,
that's
I look like Condi Rice and Samuel L. Jackson had like a love child. Don't insult Condi Rice. Well, insult her politics, not her appearance. But
I mean,
anyways,
talking about her politics and just her person, not I it has nothing to do with her appearance. She is an attractive, a woman. That's not what I'm
you've
saying
got
at all. I mean,
you've got
just
a crush on Condi Rice, Seth.
she's
You heard it
got
here first.
yeah, you
Seth has a
got me
crush
all
on Condi Rice.
you got
Seth
me
Gaddafi.
got me all twisted here. No, I just reacted with abhorrence to the memory of Condoleezza Rice as a
Oh
figure
yeah.
of power in the U.S. government because she was such an opportunist.
Oh yeah.
Um,
And
and so,
like she if you remember the like the during the civil rights era in Birmingham when that church got blown up, she was friends with like those girls that got killed in that church bombing.
yeah, I've heard that before. I've heard
Yeah.
that she decided to go work for George W. Bush.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I really don't have any patience for like people like black people that have experienced this type of horrible oppression. Like Clarence Thomas, he literally grew up picking cotton in the South during segregation. Alan Keyes, J.C. Watts, Candace Owens. I can understand why Euro Americans, because like y'all have been on top for so long and a lot of y'all want to maintain that, but like we've been like it burns my ass when I hear black people like we're descended from people who were literally enslaved. And you're talking shit on Mexicans as if as soon as they finish with the Mexicans, like they won't start on us again. Like you really think these people are our fucking friends?
hmm.
But a lot of people they let the money and they let like this whole like bootlicking atmosphere get to their head.
Where
But like
does
we are
where does Lloyd Austin come from? What's his story?
Lord oh the Biden's Secretary of Defense.
Yeah,
I never really did that much research into him.
he was the commander of the 13th or the 18th Airborne Corps at Fort Bragg for years and years. I mean, he came up through Fort Bragg. I know his Army career is entirely centered on Fort Bragg, but I don't really know anything about him as a person. Um,
Yeah, I don't either. But like, I know he shares a last name with one of the guys that did the coup against Maurice Bishop in Grenada. I don't think they're related though. But yeah, he's Lloyd Austin. The guy in Grenada was Hudson Austin. But yeah, but and like that's the thing. Like a lot of black people, we have a military tradition going all the way back to the Buffalo Soldiers, which like that's why I was really up Beyonce's ass. Like we should not idolize those guys. They were out there doing war crimes against the indigenous people. So like, and I think one main thing that we have to keep in mind is that we have a drastically different relationship to this country than like even a lot of immigrant groups do. Like this country was literally established on stolen indigenous land, and we were basically the first proletariat. We were brought over here not to experience the joys and wonders of freedom, but to fucking work. And that's why like it gets on my fucking nerves when I see people like this acting as if they've forgotten where we come from or using our experiences like a cudgel against the Palestinians or against Latino people. Like oppressed people, I think, class, ethnically, like we need to stick together. Otherwise, this shit is gonna keep happening.
yeah. Well, I was born in a trailer park in Texas and went to Texas public schools, a very diverse environment. And when I was
Did they
in
have the Ten Commandments?
say again
Did they have the Ten Commandments in them
in the
in the school?
in the school, I don't think so. No, no, it wasn't. You know that sort of culture war type of stuff came a little bit later. I remember when they put up the Ten Commandments at the Capitol. That was like in the early 2000s. I do remember we had to say the Pledge of Allegiance. But my point was going to be, also the Army unit that I served in was also very, very diverse. Not just black people and brown people, but also a lot of Asian immigrants. Not a
Mm-hmm.
lot, but they were definitely represented. And I happen to think that the military is a neutral institution. You do what you're told in the military. That's the whole kind of point of it. We all went to Iraq and served in the Iraq War because the Republicans were in power and decided to have a war, and that order goes down from the very top to the very bottom. Um, but the military exists to do what it's told, exists to be a mechanistic instrument of political power, and I don't see any reason why it could not serve as a ballast for a nation that was reformed to remove the oligarchical, pedophile, elite, whatever you want to call them, these freaks that are in charge right now. If we were ever able to get rid of them, I don't see any reason why the military itself couldn't serve a positive role in all that because rather than being sent to fight foreign wars and exploit other countries to have their natural resources stolen by multinational corporations, they would presumably, under good governments, the military would be given positive and beneficial tasks to society. It wouldn't even necessarily be fighting wars. The military has a lot of capabilities, engineering capabilities, medical capabilities, all kinds of things
You
that
know the you. I'm gonna start calling you a Maoist because like when Mao was alive in China, like that's literally the type of stuff that the People's Liberation Army was doing.
Mhm.
Like the barefoot doctors, a lot of them had were trained in PLA.
Yeah.
So like the motto to this day of the People's Liberation Army is "Serve the people," and that's what they did.
Mm.
Um, so like they would like if say there was a disaster, for example, I'm from St. Louis. I don't know if you've ever been here or not, but a tornado destroyed like basically huge swaths of the north and western halves of the city proper. No National Guard because our governor at the time, I think Mike Kehoe or whatever the fuck his name is. I don't even remember any of these NPCs. But like there was no National Guard. He was too busy kissing Trump's ass. So
Mhm.
like of course also as a Maoist, like I think that like if we get out of this, as you correctly said, this whole pedophilic, oligarchic, hyper capitalist, fascist, dare I say, system, like we're going to have to reconstruct, we're going to have to rebuild these various institutions in the people's interest, because a lot of this stuff was made for the service of empire. Like the
Mm.
police, they started as slave catchers. We can't just we've taken over the NYPD. Now it's the People's Police Department. No, because those old things are still going to be there. So, but like, yeah, I'm really a big fan of like the
That's not necessarily true. The army and the navy and so forth. So I hear what you're saying. Now, what institution you would want to get rid of is the special forces.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
There's no need for them. Like they're exclusively offensive. They're used to fuck over other people's countries. They're used for like hostile things. And if we become whatever succeeds, because I'm pretty sure that like most knowledgeable observers or anybody that's ever studied imperialism, empires, or history knows that the United States is like there's too many contradictions. We're not long for this world as this polity. So like
well,
whatever comes
will remain
afterwards,
in the. I mean, yeah. There's whatever happens. I mean, we will remain here as a people and
yeah, I ain't
you
going
know,
nowhere.
as a populated continent. So but to your point, the special forces only exists to do covert military actions, and a country that was run by good governance would have no need for covert military action. That's a
Yeah,
strictly nefarious activity. Why
sneaking around all over the world, murdering folks for no
why are
reason.
they doing that? That has no justification for it, um,
Yeah.
except for these propagandistic lies that they tell people and feed to propagate through the media that Russia's the enemy, or that Iraq's the enemy, or that the Syrian government's the enemy, whatever or Venezuela now. It's always changing, but there's always somebody that's coming under
So
attack.
speaking of Venezuela, so Trump is going to give a speech in a couple hours. I imagine both me and you will be watching it. So what do we think he's going to say?
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't watch Trump speeches.
Oh, you don't? You they give you yeah.
Only if I'm forced to. What's it going to be about?
I don't know. Like it's super secret, and it's funny. Like I don't know why this man
Well,
thinks he can
that's better.
hold a super secret. Like for one, his administration is comprised of people who fucking despise each other. It leaks like a sieve.
Yeah.
So like this is the leakiest fucking White House I've ever heard of. Like like everybody already knows what. And I, I don't know if it was H.R. McMaster's book or like somebody else said that like foreign leaders basically think Trump is a joke because the guy talks so fucking much. Like Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, like he respects these guys, but they don't respect him. They think he's a fucking joke. And
Of course, he.
like
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
or like yeah, or a guy that like okay, we talk to this dude. If we push the right buttons, if we kiss his ass enough or make him think we're kissing his ass, like he'll give us whatever the fuck we want. And like, I personally don't care about like the reputation of the American president or anything like that, especially this one. But like, just as a from the perspective of somebody that's studied politics, since I was a kid. Like that's just it's just a horrible fucking way, and he demands to be taken seriously, and he's not a serious person.
No, definitely not. And Putin and Xi are serious people, whatever
Oh yeah,
their drawbacks, because
Putin is fucking former KGB, and Xi Jinping literally grew up. He's a Red Prince. Like his dad, uh, basically was like one of Mao's top guys. So like these people know, like they've been doing this whole like palace maneuvering their whole fucking lives.
exactly.
Whereas Trump is literally just a fucking he's a clown, a buffoon, but a dangerous buffoon because he has his hand on buttons that can actually hurt people.
Yeah, they've had to survive power games with other very serious and capable people, Putin and Xi, and
Yeah.
other
Like
world
and,
leaders. Whereas in the United States, it's very different because you have Washington D.C. surrounded by these very very high walls that prevent um, any kind of democratic influence on government, and that shut
Mhm.
out popular political participation from government and only allows insiders to participate. So
Yeah.
people who are either party insiders like Joe Biden, who know that their power just depends upon carrying out the will of corporate America. Or Trump's actually pretty anomalous in this. He's a different type of. He still fits this category of like an insider who lives within these high city walls that I'm talking about. But his whole thing actually was a little bit different. Rather than sheer financial power backing him, he actually came up because of his ability to play the media. That's really what's different about Trump. His ability to capture the attention economy
Mhm.
is what's behind his power. But nevertheless, these are still highly cosseted individuals who are not serious. They're intellectually deficient. They're not people who have had to make hard decisions and reflect deeply and strategically make alliances and so on, all the different ways that you have to mature as a person and as a leader to rise to the top of a country like Russia or China. Um,
Yeah,
that's
because
why
over there, like in the United States, when you fuck up, you get to retire from Congress or and become a lobbyist. Over there, if you fuck up, you get shot.
exactly, that's a great way to illustrate the point that I'm trying to make. Perhaps not so articulately, but yeah, you fail and fail and fail, and you remain a member of the Jeffrey Epstein social club,
Yeah.
um, and you still get to commit all the crimes and make all the money and be in power and force everyone else in this country to watch your antics, knowing that we can't touch them, we can't do anything about it. So yeah, Trump
Yeah.
is a joke.
Yeah. Well, we can. We're just like a lot of people are not ready to. A lot of people are not ready to. But anyways, and like I look at previous revolutions, like the Russians, the Chinese. Like I constantly tell other leftists, like Americans are. I'm not saying like we're inherently conservative, like the Brits are. But like there's a reason why the British haven't got rid of their monarchy yet. Everybody else has gotten rid of the monarchy. The Brits still retain it because they're like a fundamentally conservative people. They're like you look at their left over there. It's basically like a bunch of old Trotskyites selling newspapers and people yelling about council tax. But like over here, like we're a rebellious people, but we also have like on the flip side, like we're also a very like we're a very wait and see. Like the Black Panthers had the clout that they did because they were the first guys and girls. Yes, there were plenty of women in the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party at one point in its history was majority female. So like they were the first people that went out and said, "Look, these cops cannot just be beating our ass like this, killing us. We have a Second Amendment right. We're going to go out here and we're going to see what's up." So like Americans generally they want the pat on the head. They want football. They want a full refrigerator, steaks, Memorial Day, 4th of July, rah rah. But like as American imperialism continues to stumble over itself, as like we're prepping for a war in Venezuela that we're probably going to. I mean, we could definitely kill a shitload of people, but ultimately, what's going to happen in the immediate is the refugee crisis is going to treble or quadruple because bombing people's homes generally makes them leave. So that's going to be a contradiction. The oil is going to be fucking fucked, And the main reason why Trump is doing this is because he wants to fuck Cuba over. Like Cuba is his main target. It's been the main target
Your Marco
of
go right.
yeah. You've got hundreds of thousands of people in Miami whose sole purpose is to turn Cuba back into a playground for the mob.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you got Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. He's in Trump's ear whispering. He's probably the most like probably one of the only adults in the room in this administration. So you've got this guy whispering in Trump's ear. And Trump is falling for this stupid shit. So through Venezuela, Trump and Rubio hope to get to Cuba because Cuba basically gets all of its oil from Venezuela. They seized that tanker the other day, illegally, of course, as pirates, and of like then they released this supposedly super secret op as an intimidation tactic. Now the other day they're they're trying to fight too many wars on too many fronts. Now you've already got ICE rampaging through the streets, dragging away roofers and restaurant workers for no good reason. He's probably going to be eaten alive in court. He's going to spend like the next 3 years tangled up in court cases. So now he's basically grabbed four people from LA who they say was planning some type of terrorist attack. So like he's trying to do too fucking much, and it's eventually going to overextend.
It's hard to believe that we're still only in the first year
Oh yeah,
of Trump,
it's
considering the entropy and chaos that we can observe. Um,
Mao had a saying: "All under heaven is chaos, and the situation is excellent."
is that Mao?
Yeah, that's Mao. All under heaven is chaos, and the situation is excellent. On the other hand, he had a big ass army. We don't.
I've never read Mao. I'm a guy who served in the army when I was 19, 20, turned against the Iraq War, started writing against the Iraq War then, and have been basically banging the same drum ever since. And
Yeah,
it's kind of
I
hard.
think they make y'all's officers read Mao. I think.
Well, that's probably for the best. I've heard. I mean, I'm aware that Mao was a brilliant military tactician.
Yeah,
I've heard some of his quotes about military tactics that always strike me as extremely sound, like always moving in a circle.
yeah. The guy didn't unify China by being dumb. But
But
have you?
Venezuela has mountains. What does Mao say? I'm sure Mao had commentary on the strategic utility of mountains. I mean, honestly, mountains are almost determinative when it comes to war.
Guerrilla warfare. Yeah, that's literally like if we put boots on the ground in Venezuela, like I don't know, like I guess because the old Vietnam generation in the military is like either dying off or retired. But like Venezuela doesn't just have mountains; it also has jungles.
Yeah.
And like one of the main like concepts around guerrilla warfare is as long as you have people, you're good. And
Hmm.
like all these tools, like Mao said that the spirit, no, Huey P. Newton said that the spirit of the people is greater than the man's technology. Like you literally had Vietnamese rice farmers that were fucking our Hueys up with a round that cost 30 cents.
Well, the man's technology these days has never been in worse condition. I recently wrote a story for Harper's about the sorry state of the U.S. military. It's actually unbelievable how bad their tech is because for so many years, these defense contractors have operated without market discipline or political discipline to constrain them to actually produce and make good technology for the hundreds of billions of dollars that they're getting. And so all of the Army's fighting vehicles, all of their armored vehicles are like literally 40 years old. Like I think the last time the Army fielded a new fighting vehicle was in 1982. I'm talking about, actually, I take that back. They introduced the Striker in 2004 or 5. It was introduced in the Iraq War. That's the only vehicle that has been the only new vehicle that's been introduced into the military, into the army since the early 1980s. And the Striker is famously a piece of shit. I mean,
But I thought America and the free market were like the paragons of innovation.
I
I
find
thought
that
our,
people, even people who are critics of military policy and critics of foreign policy, and critics of having $1 trillion military budget tend to assume, or just they think that, well, that's too much to spend on all this high technology, not realizing the other side of the picture was equally important, which is that the money is going to nothing because the technology is crap. I mean, people are aware of the F-35 is the only really, is the only big boondoggle that has come to like widespread attention. People realize, we spent more money on the F-35 than on the Iraq War, and the F-35 can't even fly in the rain, like is one of its limitations. One of its many, many limitations.
Contradictions upon contradictions, my
And
guy.
it's all this janky Silicon Valley style stuff with like these touch screens that don't work, and like it's just not durable. The
That's the
technology
type of
is
shit. That's the
durable.
type of shit that Trump and Elon Musk like.
They love it. They what they prefer, what the bias is towards, is for highly complex systems that are extremely expensive, that require tons of maintenance, that have you know hyped certain hyped capabilities that are not as is actually not as useful as technology that is simple, that is inexpensive to produce, that can be produced locally, that you can churn out lots of it. Those are things that make for a resilient and powerful military, and that's why Russia is. Besides, Russia's a country, a devastated country. Russia's a pathetic country in a lot of ways, but they've been able to hold the combined might of NATO to a stalemate on the Eastern Front in Ukraine because they're able to produce these basic trucks, basic munitions, all the stuff that we don't do in this country. We have no munitions manufacturing here. There's not a single operational shipyard in the United States. Not even one. Think about that. China has about 200 military shipyards. We have none. Okay.
So who makes our ships then? Isn't there like a
South
big one at
Korea
New?
mostly.
So what are they doing at Newport News in Virginia? Isn't there a shipyard there?
I'm talking about for building military ships.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Yeah, and I'm not an expert on this. These are just things that I learned while reporting the Harper story, but it all tracks with what I previously understood. I mean, someone may quibble with this and point out that there might be. It's always dangerous to say there's zero. Maybe there's one or two shipyards that you could arguably are still functioning, but the comparison with China is still valid because they have hundreds of times our capacity to manufacture ships and trucks and stuff, and so people don't realize that the military system, the technological aspect of it, the hardware aspect of it is totally rotten, including more basic things like the new rifle that the rifle that guys use in the army today is the same rifle that they used in Vietnam. Now, of course, it's had some tweaks. That was the AR, it was the M16A1 was in Vietnam, and now they call it an M4. But if you just look at the lower and upper receiver and the handle and stuff, you can tell this is the same weapon. It is the same weapon. They've shortened the barrel. They've made other tweaks to it, but it's the same weapon. And for years, they've been trying to introduce a new rifle, and they finally, have prototypes of it. I think it's called the X7 or something like that. And it is a total lemon. It's much more expensive to manufacture. It's way heavier, which is a huge thing for troops. Like the last thing you want, just like any backpacker or hiker, you want lightweight stuff. Like having to carry around a heavy weapon just makes your life worse. It's super heavy. It's less reliable. It jams up.
It's this
Uh,
thing.
yeah, that's it. And you see
Yeah.
what I'm saying about all the toys and
Look at all
attachments and
that
like the
shit.
futuristic look with the suppressor. All that shit is worthless. You don't need that. What you need is a rifle that's really lightweight, that's accurate, that's easy to clean, and that doesn't jam. And that's not it. The X7 sucks.
Bruh.
Yeah, it sucks. It's a shitty weapon. And
This is the best. This is where my taxpayer dollars is going to.
right.
Look at this thing. It's about bro.
It just looks heavy.
It looks like some
And they're gonna make all the soldiers carry that.
they're gonna make all the soldiers defect.
And look when did they start the program to replace it? They've been working on it for like 15 years.
Bruh.
So this is what
This
I'm
is
saying. This is what I'm saying.
but Yeah. So yeah, you just put the lie to the fact that like, oh, we're the big because we waste the most money. We're the biggest, baddest boys on the block.
That's what I'm saying. That
Yeah,
people
it's a
assume that
waste.
because we waste the most money, but they're not realizing it's wasted money. It's yeah, it looks like a Nerf gun. Yeah.
It's for the, yeah. Did Elon Musk make that? That looks like some shit he would make.
No, but let's talk about drones because drones are another thing. Not the Predator and Reaper, not the big missile platforms, but the
The things that the Houthis was shooting down, fucking up.
Yeah, well, they did that too. Well, I'm talking about the quadcopter drones that are proven so decisive in the war in Ukraine, where it's a just total drone warfare because how it works is like you have these, they're called POV drones because the operator can see the camera and they can like literally just pilot it like a kamikaze, fly it into something, and it has an explosive charge and it blows it up. So it's a really effective weapon. It's better than a missile, better than an RPG because you can literally see it and drive it like a video game into your target. And so that's going to be the weapon of the future. I mean, because you don't have to be a veteran to understand why that is a good tool if you're trying to win a war.
Yeah. You can fuck people. You can fuck people up from the comfort of your base.
For
You don't
sure.
even have to go. You don't have to go out and expose yourself to getting shot at and all that.
Also, because they can take any flight pattern. A mortar has to go in a parabola. A bullet has to go in a straight line.
Whereas a drone can go any which way.
Yeah.
Up, down. Yeah. I'm hearing a lot about drones because I follow the situation in Gaza with the Palestinian comrades they were going through, and like the Israelis, they get civilian model drones from China, which is like that's why I laugh when I hear people call China socialist. I'm like under Mao, no, but like now because all the Chinese care about is money, of course they're selling weapons and stuff to Israel because like they're a capitalist country. They still have they still have the bones of what Mao left, but they've applied it to capitalism and fucking over their own population. But anyways,
they're also supplying Russia with drones.
Oh yeah, they're buddies.
Yeah, and the U.S. has no ability to manufacture. So the by far the global leader in manufacturing quadcopter drones, which by the way are very inexpensive. So you can they're basically disposable because you can manufacture them for maybe $400, $500, up to from the low hundreds to the low thousands is what these things cost. And China, the Chinese company called DJI makes almost all of them. And the U.S. has basically zero manufacturing capacity to manufacture quadcopter drones. And so when Trump got in there and appointed Pete Hegseth, one of Hegseth's first initiatives was to try to boost American manufacturing of quadcopter drones, which if you just look at it in a purely secular light, putting aside ideology and who you back and who you like or don't like, that in itself is not a dumb move. Like that's actually what they needed to do, like is to make more drones, make more quadcopter drones. The problem is that they're all hemmed in by their own assumptions and their own like market realities and the ideas of of neoliberalism and capitalism. And so who do they tap? And the veneration of Silicon Valley. And so who did they appoint to close the gap? The guy that got all the contracts was Palmer Luckey. This I'm sure you know who he is. This absurd sort of young merchant of death, war profiteer.
He's a fucking meme.
Yeah, but my point is, and I know I've been going on about this to conclude what I went to say. So Anduril Technologies got that contract, or got one of the biggest contracts to close the drone gap with China, and they have failed miserably to do so. Their new drones that are coming out far more expensive than the Chinese ones and cannot pass the U.S. Army's most basic tests. Reuters, the Wall Street Journal, other publications have exposed their failures to meet the Army's basic tests. And in China, they would take a guy like Palmer Luckey and literally execute him for this.
Yeah, for defrauding the state.
That's right. And in our country, he's just going to get another contract.
Yeah, because See, the difference between like as a Maoist, I'm critical of China. I know that sounds like a contradiction, but like, yeah, if Mao could see modern day China, he would probably end up back in the Zhongguanchan Mountains, But like in China, like they have like they plan this shit. Like, no, you're not gonna be. Yeah, we're gonna let you make some money, but at the also you're gonna do what we tell you to do.
Right.
Whereas over here, it's just like anarchy. Like you can have like you said, just you have grifters driving us off a cliff. Right. Whereas in China, like you said, over there, your ass is going to prison, or you're gonna get shot for defrauding the state.
That's right.
You making shit that don't work. Yeah, you got to go, buddy. But like, and I think these contradictions are becoming more and more clear to regular people, and like eventually something's got to give because, like you said, like we said earlier, we still got 3.5 more years of this shit left, and like, Trump came back in the office on the 20th of this year, and you look at the chaos he's already caused. So one of the things I keep telling people is like, you cannot just be like, this is why it's really, really important that people read books like the Fort Bragg Cartel. Like all of this stuff is happening for some reason. Like nothing ever just happens randomly. Like why are there so many overdoses over here? Why is there a so-called drug war? Because like Harry Anslinger, and this goes all the way back to Harry Anslinger, like the fucking 20s and 30s. These people killed Billie Holiday. So going all the way back to the Bureau of Narcotics, like they wanted to control colonized people, black people, Latino people, and the working class more broadly. So like, but you go back to the 1890s, you had people that were like, okay, you have a fucking toothache, the dentist is going to give you laudanum. And you drink a whole bottle of that shit. But now, like
George Washington was addicted to laudanum, I just read.
Yeah, I imagine every president of the 18th century was addicted to something, especially Lincoln. That fucker was always hurting. But anyways, so you had middle class white housewives that were just donning fucking opiates. You had cocaine and Coca-Cola, like all of these fucking things. Then you had all these patent medicines that were full of God knows what. I was reading a book about medicine, like the medicine that slaves used. There was this pill. It was called Blue Mass. It was literally just mercury. And they wonder why 25 was considered old age. Yes, they would give your ass mercury. Yeah, medicinal mercury. I believe that's the shit that killed the first emperor of China. But anyways,
toxic, yeah.
Yeah, but like anyways, so because you had all these various ethnic groups coming over here, you had various new ideologies, socialism, anarchism, like they needed some reason to repress people. Just like Trump declaring fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. I wouldn't be surprised. Like Trump himself is a fucking drug addict. The dude's addicted to amphetamines. So
our government is on drugs is the conclusion I come to eventually.
Yeah, Hegseth is an alcoholic. Elon Musk is a ketamine addict. Like most of these people are drunk.
They act like it. I'm not trying to be like a stigma or like a Puritan or whatever.
No, just bro, look at them. Look at give a speech. Look at them when they talk and when they're in public. Their eyes are glazed over. Their skin is all messed up. They always have the makeup on because they're trying to hide the consequences of all the various amounts of shit they're taking. So it's hypocrisy. Like you and me, we can't dabble in drugs. We'll go to fucking prison because we're broke fuckers. Whereas they can, well, you have a best-selling book. I doubt you're a broke fucker. But anyways, whereas they can do whatever the fuck they want. Why? Because we're rich. Fuck you.
Trump's White House doctor was a military physician named Ronnie Jackson. He was actually demoted by the Navy for running an unlicensed pharmacy in the White House because he was prescribing drugs for no cost and handing them out without a prescription to all the staffers. The Rolling Stone actually did a piece on this. I didn't write it, but they did a piece on it talking about all the drugs that Ronnie the Candyman Jackson was his name.
The Candyman. That's like Kennedy's Dr. Feelgood, Max Jacobson. Like he was literally like injecting Hollywood actors, fucking novelists, and JFK. Like when JFK went to Vienna to meet with Khrushchev, the fucker was high off his balls. He was high off his balls the day he was shot because he had a really painful disorder. Plus, he hurt his back when he was in the service.
Yeah,
Um,
he actually had. I think he had a reason to be not to excuse it or whatever, but he was actually dealing with chronic pain.
yeah,
But I think a lot of this insane behavior that we see because, again, not trying to not trying to be a moralist or like a Puritan or whatever. Like I
but
think
like
that
if you're making, it's not even a moralistic or a Puritan issue, but like if you're making decisions that impact millions of people's lives, decisions that can start wars, decisions that can get hurt people hurt, you're putting people out of the country for no reason. You're deporting like Kilmar Abrego Garcia. They keep trying to deport this dude. Like, what the fuck are you going to deport him to Swaziland for?
yeah,
Like, when you're making decisions like this, you should. It's really not all that big of an ask that you be somewhat sober.
I think that the ones that the shows the most in their behavior are the amphetamines. Like amphetamines,
Yeah,
I think are the most evil drug because
thinking that you can do every fucking thing, thinking that then when you come down, then you're mad. Then you're mad
yeah,
and you want to fuck over everybody.
right,
That
anger,
goes back to those. That goes back to those Delta Force people that you're talking about.
right.
Like I guarantee you, when they did all these massacres, just barging into compounds, killing all these dudes for no reason, I guarantee you they were coming down off that shit.
Well, I know that they're on it a lot of times because the unit Delta Force prescribes operators dextroamphetamine routinely, including the main characters in my book. Got Adderall. It's just Adderall, which is just amphetamine. It is an amphetamine that a doctor gives you. Um, Very closely related to meth and its effects and its pharmacology. And so that one not only does it, so they give it to them to suppress or to help them deal with sleep deprivation, but it has these other effects too. It gives you an extraordinary sense of confidence, self confidence, and how like
Yeah,
hyper alert and secure.
helps you lock in.
Right, yeah. But it also suppresses empathy and makes you a less emotionally sensitive person than you would
Yeah,
otherwise be. It kind of like turns off your sort of the alarm bells, the sort of moral alarm bells that would go off
yeah. It turns
otherwise.
off the. Yeah, it makes you. Yeah, like a normal person. Like if I'm standing over a fucking dead body, I'm gonna be like, holy fuck.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
like any other, like if you're on drugs, especially amphetamines, things that
The
break
rush.
or suppress the you're gonna look at it and be like, ha, I did that.
Well, it's like a
Yeah,
rush. You
it's
feel exhilarated,
and this
exhilaration.
yeah, like this goes all the way back to in Vietnam. They used to call them pet pills, gold pills. They started out with the Nazi Luftwaffe and the Wehrmacht. Like
Yeah,
They called them Panzer Chocolate, Panzer chocolates. Like the fuckers, like they didn't take over all of Europe unmedicated.
right.
And
Yeah,
like yeah,
that
like
was
Hitler was on
disastrous
that shit.
for them. That was disastrous for the Nazis because the blitz that they carried out against the on the Eastern Front destroyed Nazi Germany, brought it to its knees by this overhyped um, idea of just of blitz warfare, blitzkrieg, which is what I'm
Yeah,
talking
they should
about.
have
It's
called it.
where you just
They
don't
should have called it.
stop, you just keep
Yeah,
going.
They should have called it Meth Creek. But
Right, that's what it
yeah.
was, and that's why they were brought to their knees by the resistance of the Soviets. And Hitler, of course, was on every single drug.
Oh yeah, that's why I ended up. Yeah, then when all the shit wore off, he killed himself.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Plus I read a book. It's called I can't even remember what it's called, but it's basically pop history, but like basically implies that Hitler killed himself because the Brits bombed all of the factories when they made the shit at. A buddy of mine lent it to me a while back. It was basically pop history, but it was a very fun read. But
that was a smart move. If the British did that by design, maybe it just happened
yeah,
organically.
Hitler was like, "What do you mean? There's no more mess? They
Yeah,
bombed. I cannot do this anymore. I'm sorry, all the dead Germans. I'm sorry, but I got to go." But so going back to the Fort Bragg cartel, like it's really cool how you like lay out, like you put, okay, this is what America was doing in Afghanistan, guarding poppy fields, doing this, basically propping up narco warlords, all of this, and nobody besides you has like talked about this on a national, like this is like deadly fucking shit. And now here we have Trump basically using they're basically trying to do what what Bush one did to Noriega to Maduro. So it's like just constantly like, okay, they're selling drugs, they're trafficking. Okay, but come to find out, El Cartel de los Soles, el Tren de Aragua, these things like these are myths. These things do not exist. There is no cartel of the Suns. Maduro is a fucking bus driver.
Yeah.
He's not a narco warlord.
Why would you need to sell drugs if you had the world's largest oil reserves? That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, you don't
They
gotta
don't sell drugs for fun. They do it for money.
Yeah,
And
like
and oil is better than drugs. Like that's
if Maduro was actually selling drugs, America would be his best friend.
Yeah.
But he's not.
Right.
He's not. And what they cannot stand is, and like Maduro has his own problems. Like he's by no means running like a perfect socialist paradise. But a major reason why Venezuela is having all these problems is because the United States is strangling it with sanctions. Mm-hmm. Now they're stealing their oil tankers. Like that was not a legitimate military action. None of this stuff that they're doing is legitimate. Like I saw one dude saying that, well, you cannot kill people that are or they combat. They weren't even in combat. Mm-hmm. Like these are just fucking dudes out there fishing. They even killed people from Trinidad and Tobago. And Trinidad is so cooked that they're letting America use them as an air force, as an aircraft carrier. That's the equivalent. Like this is the equivalent of if the Russians were camped out in the Bering Strait, blowing up those deadliest catch guys.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Well, I have a lot to say about the war and the potential threatened war in Venezuela, but I'll hold off on it for now. Not only because I want to see what Trump says now that you mentioned it, because it sounds like it's going to be related to something along those lines. But I actually have to run now, comrade. I got.
Holy shit! That's hard to be comrade.
At 7:00, so I still gotta drive there. So
all right.
I really enjoyed the conversation, though.
You as well, comrade.
Yeah.
Join DSA if you're not a member already.
All right, I'll see if they've got a local chapter here in Austin. I'm sure that they do.
They do.
All right, I'll look into that.
Yeah.
All right. Introduce me to somebody here.
All right. All power to the people, comrade.
Oh, I agree with that.
Yeah. Don't go back to Iraq. I heard it's dangerous over there now. Anyways, this has been Seth Harp, comrades. I hope y'all enjoyed. And if you're in Austin, you might be seeing him around at my invitation. Anyways, good talk. Thank you, Seth.
All right. Thank you.